And of course, I got to get a phone call while this is going on. Green Machine Comics. Hey, I'm trying to do my live reviews. Can you call back later? Oh, you can come in, but I'm doing live reviews. And Yogi's in the bathroom, so he can talk to you when he gets out. But right now, I'm kind of in the middle of something. But yeah, you can come in. Oh, the stores are open. Yeah, everything's open. Well, I mean, not everything. Plenty of stores are closed, but yeah, the mall's open. All right, bye. Okay, gonna take the mask off so that the deaf community can read my lips because ding dong, got an aside order because I can't really sign fast enough for that, so that's what we're gonna do. So I have my mask off right now. Let's see, Green Machine friends and fans of fun. It was a good week for comics. A really good week for comics. Aside from the DC stuff, which, I'm a DC fanboy, and it was pretty good on that front. The Marvel stuff has been amazing, if I'm honest. Give me a second. There's something needs to be wiped up. I don't want to mess up comics by setting them. Oh, no wonder. I have a drink here. It is getting rather long in the tooth. Okay. So, again, live comic shop. Yogi's in the back using the restroom, so I might have to pause during my review to address customers that wander in and stuff. But I'm going to try and get through it. First book this week. I'm trying to think real fast if there was any comic news I know of. Oh, I have some other news. We are going to be having Dominic Pace, who is an actor from The Mandalorian, into our store to sign books. It's going to be the 10th, September 10th, from 3 to 7 p.m. And we're going to have it spaced out so that people don't stand too close because of COVID concerns and such like that. And he's going to be selling replica props for the Bounty Puck, the Beskin Steel bars, everything across the board. He's going to sign them all. He's going to be selling all these stuff. He played Gecko, which is one of the characters that was in the big fight with the bounty hunters. They were the bounty hunter guilds, and then the Mandos showed up and stuff. Really cool looking costume. I have to confess, the second I saw it, I was like, oh yeah, that guy looks badass. But so give me that TIE fighter suit. Can't do that, Jason. I borrowed that myself. So he's gonna be in next Thursday. Really nice guy. Just doing the signing for us. So we are going to be having customers in the store. We are going to let subscribers in first and foremost. So if you're a subscriber, plan on coming early so that you can get in, and we will probably let you in an hour early before we let any of the other guests in. So that will be happening next Thursday. I can't wait because I'm excited to meet a Mandalorian actor anyways. So yeah, come get your book signed. Bring all your Star Wars gear down on Thursday and have it signed by him. It should be amazing. The first book on our list, hi Jacob. The first book on our list is Emma Kubert and Rusty Glad, and that is Ink Blots. Now, there has been a lot of talk about this book in particular. I've been hearing people like whisper and mumble about it and talk about it, how it looks amazing and stuff like that. As far as I can tell, the story itself centers around, a fantasy realm where everybody has sort of earned their name. Except one of the family members who just pretty much has cataloged everything for thousands of years. So she has a giant library, and she doesn't have a name. And then one day while dreaming, a giant portal appears, and a little cat runs out of the portal. And that leads to some adventures. So that's the beginning of Ink Blot. I probably spoiled more than I should have. But it's a number one. It's hard to talk about a number one without spoiling it. I will say it's good. I really, really like the art. So I get some of the fuss about it. I like the art. The story is, it's different. It's a fantasy story that's rather whimsical, which it could go either way. It could either be really, really gritty or really, really whimsical. But that generally falls into those two categories. And it's pretty whimsical. I had a good time with this. I'm not entirely sure of all the fuss over it. There is an awful lot of fuss about it. but it was pretty good. I had a good time with it. I will say that I will be reading Ink Block number 2. So we only have a couple copies of that, so come pick it up. Next is Usagi Yojimbo, issue number 12, and wow. I mean, okay, look, for all the Homecoming stories, it's always him and his rival who has married his ex. And they're supposed to be enemies, but they wind up getting into tough situations and becoming friends and fighting their way out together. So that's really what you're going to get with this story. And you know it because Stan Sakai has told this story, I don't know, 4 or 5 times through. This one in particular centers around, a bunch of Usagi's former soldiers and other samurai that he served with under Lord Mifune. They're planning an assassination to disgrace Hijiki, the lord who killed his lord. And it actually might get most of his town killed. So he's got to sort of decide, do you decide between your old loyalties that run pretty deep, or your family and blood where you grew up that also run pretty deep? And so it's good. It's a good story. And I like that Sakai changes it just enough to make it really, really entertaining. So nothing to complain about there. Nothing at all to complain about. You'll be out in a minute, Jacob. Just so you know. He's out right now. Oh, okay. Next is, issue number 4. This is Jerry Duggan, Phil Noto. This is Cable. And I will say, of literally all the Marvel books this week, I had the most fun with Cable. My Marvel pick of the week is most certainly Cable. Now, for a lot of reasons. I mean, let's be honest. I like Jerry Duggan's writing. I've always liked his writing. He throws just enough humor and action in there to really keep my attention, and this is nothing different. The art, however, Noto's art it's just a cut above everything, it feels like at times. It's so good. It speaks volumes to me. Cable himself, he's got this sword that apparently is a sword tied to an older android race that has sort of put their minds in the body of robots, and most of them have been killed, and they need the sword back so they can turn the Earth into their former planet. That's the plan. So it's very transformery. So Cable says, wait, what if I had a time machine where I could let you go back in time and save your planet? So he goes and steals his old arm from his old body, and that's the plan. Yeah, that's why we dealt with Deadpool last issue. So is it good? Is it funny? It's funny. Does it get resolved right? It gets resolved in a very Cable way, which is always like, it works. Kinda. The time travel stuff with Cable is always like, it's very sort of kind of. It's not Zemeckis time travel. It's more Bill and Ted's is how Cable usually gets wrapped up. But it was good. It was good. More importantly, you got Emma Frost getting mad at Cable because Cable is dating literally all of the Cuckoos, all of her daughters at one time. Yeah. So she's a little mad at Cable, just kind of, man. It's good. It's good. Honestly, my pick of the week. I had the best time with this story in particular. Laughed 3 or 4 times through. The art is amazing. This really, you can't go wrong right now with this Cable run. Next is the Sumerian People of the Black Circle, and this is Robert E. Howard, Savage Hero Uncensored. Now, I gotta. Oh, sorry, dude. Oh, that's wild! You dropped the PayPal reader. It's over there. Thank you. Okay. So, I don't know. So they're doing all of the Robert E. Howard Conan novels, which is cool. They're doing them which is sort of cool. I mean, there's a lot of violence and questionable stuff that really doesn't match up with modern society now, I guess you could say. But they're doing all of them, and I'm hoping they're gonna get to the Conan novel that, I'm not kidding, involves space alien elephants and a tower that I thought I dreamt. For, I don't know, most of my life I thought, I dreamt this weird Conan story where Conan was fighting space aliens that look like elephants and stuff. And then a writer friend, Setsu Izumi, was like, no, that's real. That's a real Conan story. And I was like, oh my God, I didn't dream that. So yeah, I'm hoping they get to that, because that is the weirdest damn story Robert E. Howard ever told. And I can't wait to see that in comic form. This, however, is not that story. It's a pretty good story. They've changed the artist from the other Sumerian Robert E. Howard book. And I like this artist a bit less than I did the other one. I think they've changed the artist anyways. I like the art style a bit less. It's not to say I hate it. It's good art. It's just not as heavy on ink as I prefer and more heavy on like penciled. It feels like at times, but it's not bad art. And believe me, I'm an art snob, so I criticize art pretty hard. You will have a good time with this book if you like Conan. If you like the new Conan, the stuff that Marvel's doing, this is a bit different. This is a bit dated. But if you're one of the older fellows that frequents our store and likes the older style Conan, this is it. Next is a book that involves Vampirella, Draculina, Pantha, Nyx, Chastity, and Lilith. And of course, I'm talking about something from Dynamite Comics because that's like all they do these days is crossovers with these characters. But this is the Sacred Six. And I did actually have somebody on my stream the other day when I was gaming talking to me about Sacred Six. And I was like, it's kind of, they always do these crossovers. And I'm kind of tired of the Dynamite crossovers. But this one is definitely different. It's a cut above the rest of them. It is told in separate stories involving these characters that I'm assuming eventually syncs up. And the art is really, really good. I mean, like, really good. This is Priest, Jay Lee, and Gabrielle Ibarra. Gabrielle Ibarra with an I. Yeah. But I will say the art, it says horror, it has a new lipstick. That's pretty funny. The art is great. The story's pretty good. And as far as these Dynamite crossover books with Vampirella and Chastity and whoever else, this is the best one. So if you like that sort of thing, you will love this particular issue. If you're burnt out on it, though, it might not be your jam. I'm kind of burnt out on these sort of crossovers. But this one's definitely a cut above the rest. So, yeah, come pick it up. We've got it. Next is, well, it's the book everyone wants at this point, and that is Al Ewing, Dan Slott, Valerio Schiti, and Marta Gracie. And that, of course, is the Avengers Fantastic Four Empire issue 6. And does it live up to the hype? Is the Kotati invasion repelled? Is the Earth saved? Yeah, I mean, it wraps it up. It's pretty good. It wraps it up. It's a good ending. I wasn't disappointed with the ending. It opened a couple doors, closed a couple doors. We do get to see various heroes wearing the Fantastic Four uniform, which you forget after a while that the Fantastic Four does not include the Fantastic Four. The first family has had, I don't know how many heroes that have been Fantastic Four. You got Wolverine running around in a blue Fantastic Four suit. You got Spidey running around in a blue Fantastic Four suit. You got Iron Man running around in a blue Fantastic Four. Like, all of them, like, at one point have joined the family. But so you get a lot of that. You get Franklin belting out, which is nice. Not as nice as a later issue. I'll tell you about it in a second. But one of the things that got me really good, the thing that stood out the most to me, and Yogi's going to love this, She-Hulk. Remember, she got killed at the beginning of this. Well, she comes back to life in this one, and when she comes back to life, what do you think she's talking about?
The green door.
A green door. The Immortal Hulk mythos is in everything now, and I'm super hyped about that.
Immortal She-Hulk is around the corner.
Oh, Immortal She-Hulk. I wonder.
We got copies on order.
Oh, do we? That's a thing that's coming? I didn't know that. I'm hyped. Well, I mean, Immortal Hulk is coming to an end, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotta keep it going, right?
Yeah? Oh, man. I love that the Immortal stuff. Hi, I'm not wearing a mask because I'm talking to the deaf community and other people. So if not wearing a mask bothers you, then probably stay out of the store right now. Okay. So, yes, it's awesome. It's a good wrap-up. The art is amazing. I have nothing to complain about. And I will say that anyone that is on this Empire run is probably having a good time unexpectedly. I unexpectedly loved everything about this, and I have event fatigue from Marvel events because they do so many. But this one in particular was really, really good, and I didn't expect it to be that fun. Especially since it was like Hulkling and like all these characters that I'm just not, they're not my jam.
Yeah.
It
was brand new,
the
right?
swordsman from like the old like the stuff I just didn't care about. Next is Zenoscope. This is one shot from Zenoscope. This is Franchini, Vittorino, Augusto, Hathaway, and this is Belle. And it's another hero from Zenoscope that I know nothing about. But Belle has a gold mask, and in this particular issue, she's taken on the Goblin King, I guess. I guess she's the Goblin King, or maybe Goblin Queen. I thought she called herself the Goblin King. So she's taking on the Goblin King, and it's okay. It's okay. I think as far as the Zenoscope books are concerned, this is one of the better Zenoscope books, but I think I've commented in the past that I don't much care for these titles. I always feel like the covers are the art on the covers is way more appealing than the actual story inside, and that's the same thing. This hero is tasked with rescuing someone who is being judged by the Goblin King, and will she succeed or will she fail? And it's okay. It's okay. It's a one shot. I don't even think it was really resolved by the end of it. I got to the end and I was like, that's a one shot? Like that didn't sit well with me. So it's still one of the better Zenoscope titles in my opinion, and we'll have it on our shelf, so come pick it up. Next is Conspiracy. This is another Black Zenoscope book, The Black Knight Satellite, and this one actually was pretty good. The art felt much better to me, and the Black Knight Satellite, if you don't know, is a satellite in orbit of the Earth. And when I say satellite, I don't mean like beeping and blooping man-made satellite. I mean like a hunk of rock that is shaped like a coffin. I think it's shaped like. It's some strange form, and
like a cockpit.
People have always kind of wondered about it and been like, is that really like a natural looking thing up there? It doesn't look natural. So anyways, that's in our orbit, and this is touching on the conspiracy around it, and it was an interesting comic. I had a good time with it. I don't know that the Black Knight Satellite is like a really, really super intriguing thing to me. I think it's just, we're going to find out one day it's a rock, and that's it.
Wasn't it putting out radio waves at one point?
Was it putting out No. Who told you that? Did you get that from like
conspiracy websites?
Oh, Lord.
Sorry.
That was weird, dude.
Do it over the sign. Ran away from me.
But it doesn't super interest me, but I didn't hate it. I mean, I had a good time with the comic, which is weird because usually the Zenoscope titles are kind of a slog to me. I probably shouldn't be doubting because somebody probably likes Zenoscope that's watching this, and I'm sorry if I'm doing that, but they're just never my jam. This one was. I had a good time with this one, so we'll have copies. So come pick it up. Next is Percy, Bogdanovich, and Wilson, and this is issue 5 of Wolverine. And if you can't tell, there's a bunch of bats on the cover. No, not because Batman's in play, because that would be the wrong universe, but because Wolverine is dealing with vampires. Last issue had him encased in ice, and vampires were tapping him for his blood because, hey, you've got an eternal source of blood with Wolverine and his healing factor. So that's where we pick up, and it was actually pretty good. It went back and forth and didn't play out quite how I expected it would, but the story was pretty good, and Wolverine's got a pretty big bone to pick right here with these vampires. On top, well, I imagine so if they've been tapping you for blood. But on top of that, the art is so good. Like when I talk about how a Wolverine comic needs to feel just a little gritty and a little modern, and if you go too far on one of the spectrums, it never feels right. This one's perfect. Absolutely perfect. This is how a Wolverine comic should feel. And I had a good time, wasn't bored at all. And honestly, if Cable wasn't my pick of the week this week, it would absolutely be this Wolverine. So it was a good issue. So come pick it up. Next is Lost Soldiers. And this is, well, a bunch of old Vietnam vets get back together for, one last job. And you know how it goes. The one thing that sells me about this book is not necessarily the story. The story's good, and the story is intriguing, and I do want to know more. The art is really wicked cool, and I can't put my finger on it. It feels like Pearl at times. It's sort of watercolory and then not. And so you're left sort of wondering if it's like watercolors or if it's like some type of computer generated to look like a watercolor type thing, or if it's some old style that they've just mixed together. It's good. The art is really, really good, and it feels just gritty enough for this kind of story too. So Lost Soldiers issue number 2, I'd say come pick it up. But it appeals to guys like me and Yogi who are older vets. It might not appeal to people who have never had any military service, but to me, it's pretty good. It reads like what happens when Punisher and Wolverine get old. Well, we kind of know because of the Dead Man Logan universe, and I didn't like it. But besides that, next issue is, well, it's something good from New Mutants, unlike the movie, which I've heard is trash. But issue number 12, New Mutants. If you can't tell, Magic's in play, and she's a little peeved. I had a good time with this comic, as cringy as it is. And I'm saying that because some people might read it and be like, oh, that's cringe. So the New Mutants are dealing with a group that is doxing mutants called Docs. So it's cringe. We know it's cringe. You go into it knowing it's cringe, but I had a good time. And more importantly, good old Glob at the end of the issue has like a really touching sort of narrative, and I really, really like that character. So maybe that really just sort of did it for me and sealed it up at the end. Hi, Al. But it is a little cringe. It's like, I don't know. Do you remember hearing about like this week that the Biden campaign launched signs in Animal Crossing and the cringe? That's what it felt like at times reading this issue. Now, I still had a good time with it. It was good, but it's like when you're eating Sour Patch Kids or sour candy and you're like, your face is like warping and it's like hurting, but you're like, oh, it's still pretty good. Like that's what it felt like. So, so if you like to cringe and or you like the New Mutants, which I do like the New Mutants, I haven't seen the movie and I might skip it because I like the New Mutants. But this is on our shelf. Come pick it up. Next is, I've only got the variant here. Let me dig deep and see if I can't find the mainline cover because I have them both here. Oh, here it is. Honestly, the mainline cover is better than the variants. But this is supposed to be like the gamer variant. Is that the gamer variant?
Yeah, I think
that's Nightmare Sauce too. I don't like the way that looks. This is our damaged copy. So this won't be hitting the shelves because it's all warped on the spine and ripped. And this is issue number 1 of Black Widow. And I really think the mainline cover looks way cooler than this gamer variant. And has anyone else looked at the new Avengers game? And even when they updated the graphics, still kind of felt like they have dead eyes. It's kind of weird.
Diet Coke Avengers?
Yeah, Diet Coke Avengers. It's weird because watching that DC Gotham Knights game trailer and then comparing it to the Avengers trailers, you're like, wow, I'm kind of glad to be such a big DC fanboy right now. But let's talk about Black Widow issue number 1, Thompson, Casagrande, and Belair. This is exactly what I wanted from a Black Widow story. Exactly. It's gritty. The art is good. The storyline's good. It sort of deals with Black Widow, and she, Hawkeye's kind of mad at her because that's what happens with those two. And then on top of that, she's decided to go start a new life in San Francisco. And she's not undercover this time. They know because she's been seen on a newscast walking behind. And if she was undercover, that would never happen. So she's not undercover, so they're not quite sure what's going on. And meanwhile, somebody's plotting to kill her because that's a standard, right? But it's good. It feels, you know what it felt like reading this? Less action, but it felt like if Matthew Rosenberg from Punisher had decided to take on Black Widow, like that's what it read like. And I really like Matthew Rosenberg, so I was really intrigued by this story. The art too felt like that as well. It was almost a perfect number 1. And granted, I think my big complaint was maybe there's not enough action. That's the only thing. There's action, just not enough action. I'm not wearing a mask because I'm doing a live stream for the deaf community. Well, the deaf community watches this too. So if that's a problem, you need to leave. Okay. Okay, just letting you know. Okay. Okay, so Black Widow issue number 1, pretty darn good. I have little to complain about with this this issue, and I think you should jump in. Plus, you get the bonus digital issue. But jump in on this. It's good. It felt better than the last 2 Black Widow runs, which there was something awful. One of them was too like I don't want to say risque, but like the topic they covered, which was like child mutilation, was like graphic and wrong. Yeah. And then the other one was like the art was off. I felt like I was looking at like Barbie dolls fighting when it was like the art was just it didn't fit. It just didn't fit. This is perfect. This is what I want out of a Black Widow comic. And this is what everyone should be wanting out of a Black Widow comic. I guess, yeah. 3rd time this year. Next is Marvel Zombies Resurrection. This is Johnson, Kirk, and Rosenberg. And well, we've got Inukley as the on the cover art here. And so Marvel Zombies Insurrection. What do you expect from this? Well, we know that Galactus in the Marvel Zombies universe was infected, and that was a problem. And then they were dealing with it from there. And there's nothing worse than Galactus being infected with zombies. I don't think. I don't think. Maybe Null. Null might be worse.
I mean,
but I don't know that you could infect Null.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, but we might see that. Who knows? One thing I will say about this issue in particular is that something that I don't recall from any of the Marvel Zombies runs, somebody else is in play. A certain vampire hunter is in play. Yeah. So I've never seen him in any of the Marvel Zombies, and maybe I forget. But I remember with the one with Headpool, where Deadpool's that's Marvel Zombies 3, I think it is. Don't remember seeing him there. Don't remember seeing him in 2. Don't remember seeing him in the one with Ash.
Nope.
Not at all.
We saw. Speak of that, we also saw Howard the Duck in that.
Yeah, and it makes sense for him to be in there. Like he deals with the dark and sinister. Why hasn't he been in there? So if you know who I'm talking about, it's a certain Daywalker. There you go. There's a good hint. I'm sorry, I'm spoiling a little bit, but it's an issue number 1. It's hard to talk about without talking about spoilers in issue number 1. It's good. Had a good time. The art was great. It felt perfect for a Marvel Zombies book. The story was good. A little dialed in at times. You know what to expect. I mean, by now, the zombie stuff, you know how it goes. Like, it starts off as a small infection, or in this case, I guess a big infection because Galactus, and just sort of goes from there until it spirals out of control, and then they're all going to be grappling. What? Marvel does a lot of events? Oh, God, yes. I know you know. I know you're being sarcastic. At any given time, Marvel has 2 to 3 events running, and they launch new books for each one of them, whereas DC, when they have events, they tend to use the books that are on the shelf. They might launch 1 or 2 new books, but usually it's the books on the shelf, and it just feels better. But again, DC fanboy. Next is the Orville launch day, part 1 of 2, and it's great. Had a good time. This centers around, one of a certain planet left the Federation long ago, and not the Federation, the United Planets, whatever association, the Planet Owners Association. So they left it, and that was like 20 years ago when old Ed was starting out as an ensign, and then they now they've got to deal with the fact that species or that planet might be building a weapon. So, yeah, they've got to go investigate that, and it sort of puts Ed at odds because he doesn't want to attack this planet because one of his old friends originated there, but at the same time, like, he's not going to let a weapon be used on Earth, and it might actually put him at ends with some sort of new allies. So it's good. It's good. There's actually a lot of twists and turns, and the writing felt great. It's David A. Goodman, David Cabeza, and Michael Atiyeh. Again, it sort of feels like a comical version of Star Trek, which is always what Orville's felt like. It felt like the TV show. Nothing to complain about. The art, in particular, I will say the art was great. Really good. They nailed like Seth's facial expressions like perfectly. Everything felt alive. It was fun. I chuckled out loud several times. So good issue. Number 1 for the Orville. Come pick it up. It'll be here. Next is Jason Aaron and Dennis Halem. And my God, how long has it been? How long has it been since we had the last Sea of Stars?
Oh, God.
It's been a long time. This is issue 6. If you don't know, this story is basically, it's divided into 2 sections. A father and son get split up, and the one son suddenly has superpowers and he's flying around space and stuff like that. And his dad is friggin' Robinson Crusoe trapped in space. And it just goes from there. They're sort of trying to find each other and dealing with their own like trials and tribulations, and it all centers around a space whale, which is weird. The art is really, really good. Again, I've loved the art. It's wild, it's weird, it's very sci-fi. It feels perfect. And then Jason Aaron's writing. Science fiction Jason Aaron is always really sort of weird to me. Granted, I mean, Jason Aaron's good at what he does. He's an amazing writer and stuff like that. It's just like he gets weird with it when he does sci-fi stuff. Like the Thor stuff is what I feel like Jason Aaron knows and loves, and the sci-fi stuff is just like where he's like, I'm just gonna get weird with it, and you're gonna like it because I'm Jason Aaron. So that's what this is. And I had a good time with it. I'm not complaining by any means. Anything that has Jason Aaron's name on the shelf, I'll wind up buying. Oh, there's also Stephen Green and Rico Renzi. I'm sorry I didn't give you guys credit. It's good. Come pick it up. Next is the best book in the entire universe ever this week. No, it's not, but it was pretty good. And that's Transformers, My Little Pony, Friendship in Disguise. The weirdest crossover ever. And I think I said the last issue, I was like, this is weird. And yeah, it's weird, but there is one particular story at the very beginning of this that involves oh God, I don't know. Spike, who is a dragon and Twilight's royal advisor. I don't know My Little Pony stuff. It's essentially a dragon, My Little Pony. Teams up with Grimlock of the Dinobots to fight Decepticons. And the Decepticons they fight are the Constructicons. So that story in particular was awesome. The rest of the comic was, it was so-so. It was okay. But that one story really did it for me. So it's weird to say, but I had a good time with this My Little Pony Transformers comic. So it'll be on our shelf. It's just My Little Pony's not really my jam, but Transformers are my jam, so it works. Next is issue number 1. Zach Thompson, Jen Hickman, Simon Boland, and that is Lonely Receiver. And this is a strange novel. There's a lot of I guess weird moral questions is what I'm going to say here. What do you do when the person you love leaves you and you live in the future when, you've got a bunch of weird tech at your fingertips? Well, you call up a company and you basically clone the perfect girlfriend. And that's what this person does. She clones the perfect girlfriend only to find that this person is actually a clone of 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 a clone. So she loves her, but she also loves like 350,000 million other people or something. It's some weird number. And then on top of that, they're getting visions of, just some other reality. And they're also being triggered by certain sentences. So there's a lot of weird going on here. And it feels like a cyberpunk mystery, but without the detective tropes, I guess you could say. This is a very, very, very adult comic, and I'm going to preface that. So there's a lot of nudity in this. So we won't be selling it to you if you're under the age of 18, but it is a pretty good comic. I had a good time. I was interested in it. It's just weird. It's very strange. And I get what they're doing. They're just saying like, morally, is it right? Morally, is it wrong? Like, at what point does a person become sentient, and at what point does a machine become sentient? It's just weird questions like that. But you have to read it to really get a taste of it. So if that sounds like your jam, if you need a little bit of future sci-fi stuff in your daily or your weekly reading, this is all right. It's pretty good. Next is Alien issue number 2. I can't get over that eyesore of our comeback will be bigger than our setback, but whatever. And this is, of course, the last Dark Horse Aliens comic we're going to see, because Marvel has bought the rights. Well, Disney has bought the rights to Alien. So, yeah, this is the last one. And this is actually what the screenplay was imagined as. And this issue in particular, if you know the aliens like mythos, you know that eventually someone's got to get a face hugger on their face and they don't know what's going on. And yeah, so this is how the original was written. One thing I will say is that the aliens don't look H.R. Geiger. They don't look like I expect them to. And part of me is kind of disappointed from that. Like, the facehugger it's okay. It's kind of cool looking. It looks more like a snail to me than the facehugger we know and love. Well, Yogi loves. I still think they're kind of creepy. But anyways, but it's good. It's good. It's nice to see that this is how the original Aliens screenplay was written, and there are some things that stay the same and some things that are a little different. The art is very, very, very different, though. That's all I'm going to say. It's good. It's good. And it's on our shelf. And I know most of you Alien fanboys that have come through here and fangirls that have come through here have already picked this up. So it'll be here. Next is Blair Lambert, Genolette, and Angulo. And this is Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Joss Whedon's Ring of Fire. And we know it's the Buffyverse, and we know that everything is sort of out of order and mixed mixed up, and things are happening differently. We've had Buffy and Kendra both as a Slayer. Kendra came to life as a Slayer when Buffy entered the Hellmouth. And Kendra went in apparently too. So there's another Slayer in play. And a Watcher named Wesley has been assigned to her. So if you know the Buffyverse, you know probably who that's going to be. And she's kind of a fiery character that most people really, really like after they encounter her, and that's Faith. And I like Faith. I'm hyped to see Faith. I don't give a crap about Wesley. I always thought her Watcher was kind of a dud. But Faith is pretty awesome, and this might be leading to her. So I'm excited to see. So that's this. The art, again, the art is really, really great. Everything is mixed up. The characters are out of place and happening at different times in the story, and that just feels right. It feels perfect. So I'm having a good time with this Buffy stuff still. And if you like Buffy, you will love this. Next is a book. Oh, you know what? I take it back. Cable is not my pick of the week. Without a doubt, Cable is not my pick of the week. It's close. It's neck and neck with this particular book. But this book is for sure my pick of the week. And that is Miles Morales Spider-Man. Miles Morales issue number 18. I'm going to say right now, and this is the variant cover. The main cover is pretty cool. But this issue in particular is awesome. Miles is fighting essentially somebody who looks just like him. And we saw that at the end of the last one. Meanwhile, the students of his school are all upset because they're being forced to sign this pact that says they will dime out anyone like that's a teenager practicing like doing superhero activities. And so they're upset. And that's all because fallout from the Kamala Khan like Cradle Act stuff. So they're dealing with that. And it's great. There's a lot of back and forth. At one point, Miles' family members are sort of thrown into a fight. It's good. And it feels like, because you know how Miles always feels like he's got a bit of the Spider-Man mythos, like that's standard, but then he deviates because he's Miles and he's got to be his own Spider-Man and stuff like that. That's what it feels like in this. It's great. It's awesome. I loved every second of it. And it's just enough that as a Spider-Man fan, you're like, I recognize this moment, but Miles takes it his own way, and it's good. So anyways, this is my pick of the week from Marvel. It is absolutely Miles Morales Spider-Man. I said Cable. I know I said Cable, but I'd forgotten that I read this weekend. This was amazing. The second I turned it over, I was like, oh, yeah, this is it. So come pick that up. Next is Red Sonja, issue number 19. This is, I don't know who's doing the art or the writing. They didn't put it on the cover. Anyways, it's pretty good. Red Sonja, what do you think's going to happen here? Red Sonja, she's, well, no. She's a queen. She's finally happy. She's in love with somebody who's tied to the court, and happy as can be. What do you think's going to happen? It's going to get ruined. Probably. Can you let them know?
Yeah, real quick. No problem. Just letting you know about this is part of okay, but this is part of shooting the video right now, so you got to take your mask off for the deaf community.
Yeah.
I ain't worried about it.
Okay. Just making sure. Okay. So Red Sonja, it's good. It's just you know what's gonna happen. Like Red Sonja and Conan don't exactly get to be happy, so that's all I'm gonna say. The art is good. I have little to complain about. This Red Sonja run has been really fun, even if this issue sort of seemed a little, a little expected. But nothing to complain about here. And Lord knows we got plenty of copies of Red Sonja, so come pick it up. Next is Horizon Zero Dawn, and is the game out yet, Jacob?
The first one or the new one?
The new one.
The new one doesn't come out until next.
But the first one was great, right?
The first one was 2017, I think. The new one's coming out either late this year or early next year.
Did you play it?
I haven't gotten very far.
But it's good, right?
I enjoy it.
I've heard it's good, which is weird.
Game of the Year awards.
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was one of the top reviewed games of that year.
Okay.
That year it came out.
It's weird because, like, I've heard that the game is amazing. This story was not. It's kind of weird like that. The art was felt a little generic. The story was it was okay. Granted, I don't know the Event Horizon universe all that well, so maybe that's just because I don't know it. But it was okay. It was okay. That's me being nice. It's Ann Toole and Molina, Brian Valencia, Jim Campbell, and I sort of hope that the game has a different outcome here. This is basically, robots are attacking and there's a kid hiding in a tree and we got to fight off the robots. Then we got to hunt some of them down. And
it looks like it's a prequel or something because that's not the main character of the game.
Yeah,
the character on the back is the main character of the game.
Okay, so maybe it's a prequel. I don't know. They can't all be winners, and this one in particular. Granted, I haven't played the game. I don't have a PS4, so maybe it would speak volumes to somebody who has played the game. But if you haven't played the game, don't jump in here on this issue. Next is Fantastic Four, issue number 23. This is Slott, Medina, and Abertov. And I will say that even though Empire number 6 was the wrap-up, which should have been the best Empire book for the week because it was a wrap-up, and it was pretty good. I think the Fantastic Four with Dan Slott at the helm, this beat it. This centers around Franklin and Valeria teaming up with two more Fantastic Four members, Wolverine and Spider-Man. And really, Wolverine and Spider-Man kind of steal the show. It was hysterical. I laughed most of the way through. Pretty much they've got to find a device that's going to ruin the Kree-Skrull alliance and put a stop to that while rescuing kids. That's pretty much the premise of it. It was fun. I laughed most of the way through. The art is really good. But again, this Fantastic Four run, I mean, there's nothing to complain about here at all. The art has been great. The writing has been great. And this is no different. Yogi, you want to grab this? Next book for the week is Firepower. This is Robert Kirkman, Chris Samney, and this is issue number 3 of Firepower. If you don't know Firepower, it's a new brand, and it basically centers around, there's a bunch of ninja clans, and one of them has, one of the characters has the ability to Hadouken. That's pretty much the premise of it. It gets a little deeper. This is a family who has pretty much left the clan, and they're sort of dealing with the fact that they might have to train the other family members to fight because, ninjas could attack at any time. Meanwhile, old dad can't be expected to Hadouken everything. So that's Firepower in a nutshell. Is it fun? Yeah, it's fun. I have a good time with this. Me simplifying that story doesn't mean that there's not a lot of complexity here. Kirkman is, he's a master at what he does for a good reason. It's fun. This Skybound imprint, I have little to complain about Image Skybound, and I don't know anyone that does. I think Outer Darkness got a bit wacky at one point, and that's the only time I've ever been like, well, it's kind of weird. But this is a really, really good time, and I'm enjoying this Firepower run or Firepower story. So come pick it up. Next is, if you notice me blinking, I picked up this book and said this out loud, and lo and behold, this book is Upshot. It's Jeff McComsey, Tommy Lee Edwards, and John Workman. And I looked at this and I said, look, gritty cover, but the title is Grendel, Kentucky. And I'll bet you money there's a monster in it. What kind of monster do you think it is, Yogi?
Oh, Grendel.
Probably. Probably.
Okay.
Maybe it's Bill Cosby.
It centers around a little town in Kentucky. And, there's a biker club that's rolling into town. Biker club with a bunch of really strong-willed women in the biker club rolling into town, and the sheriff's like really strong-willed, and they might butt heads at one point, and they're investigating this and that, and then somebody leaves a pig out for some kind of monster in a cave. What could it be? That's what you get with this story, and if it sounds good to you, you're not me. I'm expecting this to be pretty dialed in. If I can pick up your cover and guess what's in it, it's probably not great. But I could be wrong. I could be totally wrong. Issue number 2 is going to come out, and maybe they'll go way out, like out of left field, and I'll be like, "Whoa, Grendel, Kentucky was an amazing comic." But right now, it just felt a little predictable. But we've got it if you want it. The art is too gritty. These Upshot comics, I don't know what it is, but like they're comics. You know what they feel like? What was that crime story? The Criminal. The art feels like Criminal. Criminal has always been too gritty for me. I always pick it up and be like, I could chew my teeth with this art. And these Upshot comics are the same way. I've got like a couple customers who just love them, but they're totally not my jam. So yeah, you can take my reviews on them with a grain of salt. Next is issue number 6, and this is Rosenberg and Schmidt. And if you know it's Rosenberg, you know I must be talking about Hawkeye Freefall. And Hawkeye Freefall as a comic, and I thought they were saying that I'm pretty sure they're canceling it, right? Like this is the last issue, which is a shame because again, poor old Matthew Rosenberg can't win. Like it seems like everybody criticizes him on Twitter at times and harasses the poor guy. And I love his runs, like absolutely. And Hawkeye is no exception. The humor of Hawkeye is so good, and in this issue in particular, it comes out that Hawkeye is Ronin. We've known that for a couple issues. He's been running around, dealing with crime bosses and going back and forth. The beginning of this particular issue has Hawkeye shooting someone in the junk, and Steve Rogers showing up and being like, Clint, we need to talk. And then meanwhile, the guy's like, you shot me in the junk. And Hawkeye's like, dude, you're ruining this moment, dude. Like, you need to stop. So, what's up? Oh, okay. Did you explain to them why I asked this? Okay. Just making sure. Anyway, so Hawkeye Freefall is awesome, really awesome. And as far as endings are concerned, this ending felt right. It was perfect. He finally beats the Hood, and it was wrapped up quite nicely with. Maybe you knew he was gonna beat the bad guy. You had to know, so it's kind of spoilery, but whatever. Nothing to complain about. It's great. The art was really, really fun, almost too fun at times. At times, it felt like I was reading a cartoon, like a Saturday morning cartoon. But it's good. The story was great. I laughed out loud several times. Nothing to complain about. Again. So a lot of good Marvel books this week. Really good Marvel books this week. Next is Al Ewing, Marcio Takara, Frederick Blee, and we are talking about Guardians of the Galaxy. And old Nova's got some issues, and he's got to talk to a psych, and it feels very Heroes in Crisis. It opens with him talking in like panels like Heroes in Crisis, and even like looked really similar. Granted, totally different universes, but that's what I'm going to say. He's talking to a psych. He's talking about all his issues and trials and tribulations, which all kind of stem from issues with his dad, which I didn't know about. But it's good. I had a good time with this issue. Although, if you're looking for a lot of action, this probably isn't it. But if you're looking for a lot of deep dialogues and people coming to conclusions, this is a great issue. So issue number 6, Guardians of the Galaxy, come pick it up. Oh, and the art's good. It's really good. But I've really liked this Guardians run so far. So next is Swordmaster against Death Army. Do I have anything to drink? Oh, yeah. That's mine. Grab my drink. Throat's starting to go. Swordmaster against Death's Army. This is Shizu, Chu, and Gunji. This is awesome. Now, keep in mind the Swordmaster stuff at times felt a little weird. It was just a weird startup. It felt like just awkward kid with the sword, which might have been what they were going for, but wasn't really what I expected from the outset. Because they showed all these badass poses with him on the cover, and I thought he was just going to be an absolute badass. But they've fallen into their stride because this issue in particular was really, really fun. Although, kind of ends with some cringe. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but the last page was a little bit of cringe.
I'm sorry.
The last page was a little bit of cringe, but the story itself was fun. I had a good time with it, and nothing to complain about. The art, again, these in particular, the Swordmaster, Wave, Arrow, what's the other one? Agents of Atlas. Like, all of the art feels really, really good for these titles. And yeah, this is just another one, but it's the sort of Marvel crossed with manga art is what they're going for, and that's why I tend to like it like a lot. So yeah, come pick this up. We'll have it here. Last book on our list for the week is Bitterroot, and this is issue number 10, the 2020 Eisner Award-winning series. And you know, it's weird to say because like the story's great. The art is great, but I feel like every single time I pick up one of these issues, like I'm like immediately know that I'm going to be gushing about the art and I'm going to be gushing about the story. And again, same thing. This is the wrap up to their latest story arc, and so it wraps it up. But it's not a happy ending. The Bitterroot books never quite end happy because they're an in-your-face metaphor for racism with using monsters and all that sort of thing. So it's never fully wrapped up, and I don't think it's ever going to be because, you know, that's just a constant problem in our world. But the art, my God, the art in these comics is so good. And granted, I think it's Walker, Brown, Green, Dodson, and Cowles, Dodson and Cowles. And you know, I'm a huge Dennis Cowles fan, and pretty much everyone in here is just an amazing at what they do. The writing and the art, it's great. You know how these Bitterroot books go, though. When they get to the wrap up, a couple people die, a couple people get infected, and you know, then there's sort of a surprise ending when they finish their story arcs, and that's what you're going to get here. And it's good. It's really, really good. And it's just a constant narrative on today's society that is told in what is it, the 1950s or 1920s? 1920s backdrop. I have such a good time with it. So yeah, Walker, Brown, Green, Dodson, and Cowles, come pick this up. This Bitterroot stuff, if you haven't seen the art on it, my God, it's so cool and wicked in a lot of ways. I'm trying to find a page that I can show you without spoiling too much, but like, wow. Like it's just top tier comic art. Anyways, so that's our show for this week. That's our Marvel and indie books for this week. We did our DC comics last week. We did our DC reviews yesterday, day before yesterday. And we'll see you next week. On top of that, don't forget, we're gonna have a Mandalorian actor. Dominic Pace. I'm terrible with names. Dominic Pace will be here. He will be signing stuff Thursday between 3 and 7 p.m. On top of that, he's going to be selling replica props from the show. So if you want a Bounty Hunter puck or you want the Beskin Steel like bar, he's going to have both of those things here for you to buy. So come through. It's awesome, and get them signed. And I think he said selfies with him are free, right?
Yep,
yeah, selfies with him are free. So that's our show for this week. Again, reminder, please wear your mask if you come into our store. The only reason I'm not wearing my mask right now is because I want the deaf community, if they want to watch my stuff, to be able to at least sort of read my lips because I can't sign fast enough. But when you come into our store, please respect the mask rule. Please stay 6 feet from everyone else, and please be safe. And we love you guys. We'll see you next week. I'm going to put my mask on right now. Look, it's my Bushido mask. 5G Karen repellent. Oh, you're dancing us off? Okay, dance us off. Okay. We're still live. I'm ending it right now. Bye, guys.